My name is Deacon Hayes. I started a site called wellkeptwallet.com, and want to talk to you today about how I went from $940 a month to $6,000 a month in revenue in less than a year. And like most of you, I started out making nothing, right? So what I want to do is kind of tell you a little bit. Let's rewind back a little bit to our story. So I started in 2010 when my wife and I first got married. We got married just previous to that. And we had $52,000 in debt. And so I don't know about you guys, but we were in our mid-20s and we thought, holy cow, that is a ton of debt to just be starting out life, right? So we're like, hey, we need to figure out how to do this right. We're not doing this right at all. So that's when I started Well Kept Wallet, and that's when I started devising a plan to pay off our debt. And I'm a big fan of SMART goals. So I said, okay, it's 52 grand. What's realistic? 18 months, right? That sounds realistic. My wife didn't think so, right? So, but I'm a big fan. Like, let's set a deadline and let's figure it out, right? So I had this brand new car. It was a push button start, and I was super excited about it, right? Because I mean, up until that point, there really weren't push buttons, cars. You used a key, but I had to sell it. So I sold my brand new car, and I bought a beater car, and it was one of those that didn't have an antenna, so I couldn't listen to the radio half the time, or the door from the outside, you had to open it in the inside. They couldn't actually open it from the outside, right? But this is what we were doing to pay off our debt in a short period of time. I started selling my wife's clothes on eBay with her permission, of course, and I also got a job delivering pizzas at night. I was doing everything I could to come up with extra money. And in 18 months, we paid off 52 grand in debt. And it was like this liberating experience. Thanks, guys. So Well Kept Wallet was born. It was like, how can I take this message and share it with people, right? How can I teach them to save money, make money, pay off debt? And at the time, I was selling wood floors. And so this sounded so much more exciting than wood floors, right? So I developed a site, and it made $0 for several years. How many of you can relate to that? You created a site, and it's like crickets, no money, right? So I added AdSense, because I'm like, that's how you make money, right? That's because you see the guys like Shoe Money, and he's like, I made $100,000 last month with AdSense. And I made nothing, right? I mean, I made like dollars per month. It was a long time until I got that $100 check from Google, like maybe 8 months or whatever it was. And then I discovered affiliate marketing, courses, and better ad networks, right? And stuff started to change. So what I want to do is kind of walk you through a timeline, right? Because I love when someone says, like, hey, here's where I was here, and then this is what happened, and this is where I am today. So February of last year, $940. July of last year, $1,300, so not a big swing. November, just a few months later, $3,500. And then December, $4,400, and then January, $6,000. And what I really want to do is get micro with you and say, okay, what happened each one of those months and during that time to grow the revenue? Because I tested a lot of things. It wasn't like just an overnight thing, like, oh, I flip a switch and stuff just starts happening, right? So in February 2016, I decided to turn my blog into a business. I think a lot of us, we run our blog as a blog, and that's great, but it's not going to make a lot of money. And so the first thing I started doing was tracking. I actually track my revenue on a daily basis. And for me, it means that I have a pulse on everything that's going on. If something's not right, in 24 hours, I can actually switch things to get it where I need it to be. And I had multiple income streams, right? It wasn't just one thing anymore. So I added media.net to my AdSense. I had affiliate income that was coming in. And I was also doing sponsored posts. You get those people that say, hey, I've got this really good exclusive content that I want to place on your site, right? And so I was doing that, but I wasn't doing it on my site. I bought a couple other sites to do that with. And I don't recommend that at all, but at the time, that's what I was doing. So fast forward a little bit to July, right? So you can see really not much has happened from February to July. I mean, $400 is decent, right, on a monthly scale, but really it's not moving the needle. So I'm like, I need to invest in myself. So I took a course about affiliate marketing by someone we probably all know in this room, and it was really helpful for me. And so what it really helped me do is two things. Focus on who are my top 10 affiliates, right? So I've got a brand now. I don't have a blog. And what does my audience need, right? Who are the actual affiliates that they need to get to their goal, right? So I focused on finding who those top 10 affiliates were. And then I did something that I thought was brilliant, but I didn't come up with it, which was focus on pages that already get traffic, right? You already have pages on your site that get traffic, so why not figure out how to monetize those, right? Figure out affiliates, figure out products, figure out ad placement. And so that's what I started to do. And then on top of that, I started doing some freelance writing. So I was like, okay, well, I got some extra time. Let me do some freelance writing and YouTube videos. So, you see someone doing YouTube like PewDiePie, and he makes like $1 million a month, and you're like, I can do YouTube videos. And so my grandma calls me up, and she's like, I've got a ring stuck on my finger. I'm kind of embarrassed, but will you help me get it off? And I'm like, okay. So I went to YouTube and I looked up how to get ring off swollen finger, right? And this video comes up and it's like with dental floss, and it had like millions of views. And I'm like, okay, I'll just try that. I'll get some dental floss that my grandma already had, and no joke, we got it off in like 30 seconds. And my grandma, it's her wedding ring. Like, she didn't want to get it cut off, right? Like, so this was a big deal for her. So I'm like, I'm gonna make a video. And it made like $6. But the idea was, I got really excited. I'm testing things, I'm trying things, right? And then courses, right? So you've got skill sets. You've got things that you've learned over time that you're farther ahead of than the next person. So what I did is, okay, I paid off my debt in 18 months. I created a course called Debt Free in 18 months to really help people set a SMART goal, work backwards, figure out how all those pieces, how to make money, save money, etc. And then I decided I'm gonna have a Black Friday sale like Walmart, right? Like, so I'm gonna send out an email blast saying, hey, my $97 course is $17, right? I'll just give it away basically just to see. And I did about $475 in course sales. Well, what's crazy about that is if you think about it, in February I did $940. I mean, that's almost half of my revenue from the beginning of the year with just courses. And I'd done zero pretty much with courses up until this point. So that was kind of exciting for me. My freelance writing was up, and as you can see, my affiliate went up significantly. And another thing that was interesting is I switched ad networks, right? So I went from having 2 ad networks to having 1. And the crazy thing is the 1 was actually more than the 2 combined. So that's the beauty of this, right? You gotta test, you gotta figure out what's working, what's not, what works for you, what works for your audience, and so things progressed. So in December, I thought, hey, I'm starting to get the hang of this, right? I'm starting to get the hang of how to actually get affiliates to convert, how to get courses to convert. And so I'm like, why don't I start doing Facebook ads, right? Like, why don't I actually buy traffic to go to the things that I know that convert and start to figure that out? And so some of the main income sources at that time were affiliate income, my ad network, Mediavine, other sites, and then My Finance. So there was another thing that I was testing. My Finance is a little widget that goes at the bottom of your posts, and they share revenue with you for all the traffic you send that converts, etc. So you can see, like, from February to now, things have changed drastically. Fast forwarding to January of this year, I increased my ad spend because I'm like, hey, this is working, right? So really, my idea was, let's keep pumping money into the system. And the cool thing is now my affiliate income is at like $3,000 at this point, and the ad network is at about $2,000. And we're not even talking about courses and all that other stuff. I was just kind of isolating, like, these are the things that are working. So my goal was, let's A/B test what's working, what's not working, and then start focusing on what's working and get rid of the rest of the stuff. So don't really focus on courses and that kind of thing at this time. But the idea is that's kind of the progression from February to January. So it's about 11 months. Went from $940 a month to $6,000 a month. And I wanted to put in there, I'm actually spending money, right? So there is a cost to this. What I want to talk about is what got me there was the power of focus. I think what we struggle with is the shiny object syndrome, right? Like, you see the ring video and you're like, I'm gonna go make a ring video. Or you see somebody doing great with email and you're like, I'm gonna focus on that, or Pinterest, or whatever it is. And we can't be everything to everybody. We can't do everything 100%. So what I began to do was focus on that tracking side, right? I tried to figure out, like, okay, what are the things that I need to be doing? Focus on affiliate marketing. I saw, okay, I did freelance writing. That took a lot of time. I did courses. That was hit or miss. It wasn't consistent. Sponsored posts seemed spammy, at least in that sense that I was doing at the time. So really, I wanted to kind of get away from that stuff and really focus on affiliate marketing. And then once I kind of figured that out, I figured, hey, how do I get more traffic to those posts that convert, right? And so I did it through 2 ways, through Facebook ads and through organic traffic. And we'll kind of dive into that. So first, the importance of tracking. How many of you have heard of KPIs, key performance indicators? So, or key performance metrics, I guess that's what I call them. So I track 3 different things: organic traffic from Google, Facebook likes, and revenue. So really, the cool thing about this is you could track a lot of things, right? You could track Pinterest followers, Twitter followers, Instagram, like really, so these are the 3 things that I focus on. And I have a monthly, basically, calendar that tracks all of this stuff in a Google Doc. And then I applied a growth rate to it. So you don't want to just say, hey, I'm going to track this stuff, right? No, I want to do 5% better the next month. And then the next month after that, I want to do 5% better than that. And so the idea is that you're actually running it like a business, right? Businesses have what's called a pro forma. You say, hey, how much am I going to make in the next 12 months? How much am I going to make in the next 3 years? How much am I going to make in the next 5 years? So I literally have spreadsheets that will tell me where our revenue should be in 2020, right? And it sounds crazy, but it's actually pretty easy. It's literally you add the growth rate and it will just calculate everything for you, right? I actually have a spreadsheet, so if you want that, I'd be glad to share that with you for free. Just contact me later. So fine-tuning the process, right? Like I said, once you figure out what it is for you, it could be courses, it could be affiliate, it could be whatever a service that you're doing, figuring out what those traffic sources are, right? So there was 2 things, once again, getting to simplification, saying, what are the core things that are going to drive my business? There's 2 things that I want to focus on, organic traffic and Facebook ads. And so I can't tell you everything about organic traffic and Facebook ads today, but what I do is give you a couple of resources. So for organic traffic, there's 2 people that I recommend. Brian Dean, he has a site called Backlinko. Everything you need to know about, I shouldn't say everything, but SEO, as well as Neil Patel has a site called QuickSprout. Both of these guys are white hat SEO guys, so these guys won't steer you wrong. And for Facebook ads, there's 2 people. Rick Mulready, he has a podcast called The Art of Paid Traffic, and Monica Louie here, who does a lot with Facebook ads. She has a course as well. But these guys are experts in their field, so learn from somebody that knows what they're doing. That was the thing that I learned, that I only know so much, right? You guys only know so much. That's why you're in this room right now, is you want to absorb. So find these people, their sites, their podcasts, listen to them to kind of get better at those traffic avenues. And the other side of it is improving conversions, right? It's great to get the traffic, but if nobody converts, it's kind of meaningless from a revenue standpoint, right? And so what you want to do is focus on page speed. How many times have you gone to a site and you're waiting? And you're waiting. And it feels like AOL dial-up, right? It's like, like the picture's loading really, really slowly. Like, that's horrible, right? That will not convert. So you really need to improve your page speed. Remove pop-ups. This is a hard thing, right? Because you're like, oh, I heard I need to have email sign-ups. So I have to have, calls to action and all that kind of stuff. It really just depends on what your goal is, right? So for me, my goal is affiliate conversions. And so a pop-up takes them away from that goal, right? And it also can interfere with the user experience. How many times have you gone to a site and you're on the site for 15 seconds, pop up, you hit an X, and you scroll down, pop up, you're like, oh my gosh, and then one comes in from the left, and then one comes in from the right, and it's like, I'm leaving, I'm done, right? So really think about user experience when it comes to this stuff. And then bolding important text, right? We're all busy, it's a fast-paced environment. People sometimes just skim. They want to just get to the point. Tell me the main benefit of me signing up for this service. Done, click. If you don't bold it, it's easy that they can just skim past and go on to the next thing. Creating systems. I'm not a very organized person, right? So this is hard for me. So really figuring out how do you do that? There's a couple of project management softwares out there that I use. I use one called Trello and one called Asana. These both basically give you the idea to have a team, have processes in place to basically scale everything. And then the other thing is hiring people to implement, right? At some point, I was like, okay, I can't do everything. I need other people who are really good at things to do this stuff for me and be on the team and then use these project management tools to basically control the process and make sure things get done.
Why both Trello and Asana?
So I actually have 3 different companies. So I use one for one company and one for another company. And then the other company I automated, so I don't need any project management software for that one. So using paid advertisements, so kind of like talking about, okay, you've got the systems in place, you know what works, you have the right people on board, figuring out what paid advertising strategy do you want to use. There's Pinterest, there's Google ads, there's Facebook ads, and then figuring out how much is, this was revolutionary for me, how much is a visitor worth to you? If I was to ask you right now, if you had 1,000 people on your site, how much money would you make? How many of you could tell me? Raise your hand. Okay, a few of you, that's amazing, right? But the reality is until you know that, you shouldn't pay for any advertising because the reality is you could lose money. But once you figure that out, then you can explore the different paid traffic channels that would work for you, and then you can start with a low budget to test. So here's an example, just figuring out what is a visitor worth to you, right? So if you got 1,000 page views at $100 of revenue, right, whether it was from affiliates, a service, product, whatever, that would be about 10 cents per visitor. So the idea is that you need to have at least 6 cents per visitor or less to be able to make money. I say 6 cents because you still have to pay for hosting, you still have to pay for content writers, you still have to pay for plugins, whatever. So really, to be profitable, you have to be less than 10 cents, right? So the idea is, well, let's just say it's 5 cents. How many of you would spend $5,000 to make $10,000? Okay? You're smart. How many would you spend $50,000 to make $100,000, right? So the idea is you start small and you say, okay, I'm gonna start with 50 bucks to try to make 100, and then 100 to make 200, right? And it's not all roses. You gotta test, do it slow. Don't just start with 50 grand and you probably will lose it. The idea is to really start out slow and scale. So what I want to do is, like, you guys are probably great, Deacon. You told me what you did in January this year, right? Like, what does that matter? I mean, so what I want to do is kind of look at last month. So last month, the revenue was about $21,000, which sounds like a lot, but my expenses have drastically increased too, right? So spent about $13,700. So the profit was about $8,000. Most of my income now is from affiliate marketing. So you see, when I started, it was all over the board. I had multiple ad networks. I had, sponsored posts. I had courses. I tried a Ring video. I had all these things going on for me. And then I focused in really on what works, right? And now maximizing that. And then pushing traffic to it so that it can continue to grow. And so for me, I want to encourage you guys, figure out what that path is for you. All I wanted to do is kind of give you my path and how it's worked for me. And you can take bits and pieces from that and say, hey, that resonates with me. I could do that. And then run with it.